Blog Talk Radio.
He is the last of his kind. All that remains of a once powerful nation. Some think he is a myth. Some believe he is the chosen one, who will bring balance to a world at war. And some will stop at nothing to destroy him.
Welcome, Moorish Talk Live 100. I'm your host, Tarhaka LB, and tonight we will be discussing what do you need with a lawyer. Our special guest will be Sister Rashima. She'll be in here with us tonight, and we'll be dealing with the following questions. What would you need a lawyer for? What is a private versus public? What is Legal Shield all about? How do you network with a lawyer? These are just a few of the questions that we're going to be discussing this evening. And keep in mind that the phone lines will be open. In order for me to know that you are online, you have to press 1 on your phone once you dial into the broadcast to the number 310-982-4184. Press 1 on your phone. That let me know that you're in the queue. Okay? All right. Now, before we get started, I'm going to crank off a few of these commercials. And when we get back, we'll be ready to go. Okay? So y'all just sit tight for a minute, and we'll be ready to go in a moment.
How do you live in America as a free man or woman? What must you know about yourself that must be law? How do you operate in commerce without major problems? Go to www.newdebtelimination.com. That's www.newdebtelimination.com. Call me, Tarhaka LB, at 904-303-9061 before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 904-303-9061 before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. How do you live in America as a free man or woman? Let's get to the solution. Peace.
Okay, before you rush out to save the world, have you made up your own bed yet? Does being a secured party make you invincible? The answer is no. But what are the benefits of being a secured party? Go to www.newdebtelimination.com. That's www.newdebtelimination.com. Or call me, Tarhaka LB, directly, 904-303-9061 before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 904-303-9061 before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll be a secured party creditor, but the most important part about all of it is knowing what it is and knowing exactly what to do with it. That's extremely important. www.newdebtelimination.com.
And now, back to the show with Tarhaka and Moorish Talk Live 100.
All right, Mose, we back. Now, me personally, I think since I've been involved with the lawyers and stuff, it's been quite interesting. I think a lot of them. I'm not gonna put out any information that because people have different opinions on different things. I'll put it to you like this: I feel like everybody got a function. Okay, I'll leave it and state that there are times when you may have to have one, provided if you need that. Me personally, I believe in settling the matter prior to ever going in a courthouse. In the private, I do everything in the private. Pretty much everything that we do, everything that we own, everything that we've created is held in an irrevocable common law trust. Irrevocable common law trust, as described in the Art of Passing the Buck, Volume 2, where you get a chance to see the actual blueprints for this particular type of trust. But that's just my position. I don't own anything. It's held in trust. Everything. Don't talk to me about nothing. Talk to the trustees. Talk to their lawyers. If you want to talk to me, talk to a lawyer. But nevertheless, it appears that my guests have arrived. So I'm going to open up the line and let it get in.
Shalom, good day.
Hey, sister, welcome, Rashima. Shalom.
Hello, Tarhaka. Shalom, and shalom to all of the listeners today. I am.
Well, what you want to say to all the listeners today?
Well, in reference to today about what do you need a lawyer for, I wanted to talk to the our listeners about public and private, and about how that is in relation to getting some remedies, some public remedies for their private processes, and that goes into the lawyer thing. So, first of all, I wanted to address the common problems that we all will encounter, or have encountered, or know someone that has encountered with the issue. First of all,
well, wait a minute. Before we get into the meat and potatoes, why don't we tell everybody who you are, what you got going, tell us about.
Okay.
Yeah, give us that right there, and then we go down in there.
Okay. All right. Well, I am an advocate, first of all, and I have a nonprofit organization called Victims of Malicious Prosecution. And at Victims of Malicious Prosecution, we try to prevent wrongful convictions during the pretrial stage. And that is through community education, mediation, and deterrence. With all of the players in the criminal justice process, where we try to prevent ineffective assistance of counsel, on both sides, on the prosecution and on the defense side, rather if it's a public defender or a hired attorney. And, we're learning all the way around that there is a language barrier that exists for several different reasons that disenfranchises an individual in the process. Now, with the police department, we try to, that's where the deterrence is. We try to address grievances there and prevent color of law abuses, and with issues of improper or lack of investigation or improper investigation, or maybe there have been some, like I said, color of law abuses, whether they say, I've been set up, or something wasn't done right, or the funds were not appropriate. They're just running their case through the system. On the state attorney side, communicating with them to utilize prosecutorial discretion more often, utilize the deterrence, not the deterrence, but they have programs that are alternatives to incarceration. And to also, take a look at a case and say, hey, this case shouldn't even be prosecuted, because there are some issues that lie from the beginning, whether it's unclean hands or whatever the case may be, because their function is to make sure that when they receive it from the police department, that there are not any constitutional rights that belong to the accused or the defendant, rather, that are being broken. That will disenfranchise them, because their rights, even though the prosecution is supposed to bring the case on behalf of the defendant, on the plaintiff, they cannot, which the Constitution says, that they cannot trample over and disregard the rights of the defendant for the benefit of the victim. And so they have to make sure that whatever they do, whatever process that they go through, that doesn't happen before they take on a case. And so, when there's some issues that happen, we try to bring it forth before them. And then there is also, educating the community and to let them know that you are your first line of defense. It's difficult for you're there from the very beginning. And so you're trying to summarize everything that has happened to you to a lawyer or someone else that you're trying to get to help you. And they just want you to get straight to the point when every single detail is important to you. We have counseling that we're putting in place, because people do not realize that they have been traumatized. It's a traumatizing experience. And you're pressed against deadlines and time refrains, and it just doesn't affect you, the person who is going through the experience, but the whole family. And so, just trying to put a lot of safeguards so there's not a ripple effect of issues that occur to try to set the family and the individual back on a good track. So, that's kind of what we do, and we try to have accountability, teach accountability for oneself, because why should someone else, even an advocate, care more about you and your situation than you do? Making the people slow down and learn how to handle things on their own and understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, rather than just saying the cause and effect. And everyone wants a silver bullet, and they just know, okay, I shoot off this gun and I hit this werewolf and it's supposed to die, but you don't know the chemical compositions of why it makes it all happen. And that's what we kind of do in between. So on top of that, because it deals with criminal issues, we have encountered that there's a lot of other stuff that's going on. And before their issue, the majority of people, before their issue have even wound up to be a criminal issue, it started off with simple contract law, or it started off with something domestic, something that just spiraled out of control. That is maybe because lack of time, they're busy, or lack of resources or funds, or they don't know what to do and when to do it and how to do it, that things just compiled and got delinquent, and then it spiraled into what it is. And if they would have only had that certain thing in place that could help them address and maintenance their lives, it would have either dissipated all of the things that they're going through now, where it would not have occurred, or it would have kept a good track record of what was going on that could help them have a successful defense. And they asked a lot of civil questions. So we decided to put something in place that could address those civil issues in nature, and that's where
well, it sounds like you're breaking up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Is that better? Okay, great.
Yes,
sorry about that. So what we did was we put, after careful research, we put something in place that the community could access that would handle that one thing that will handle that maintenance that they need in their lives to keep everything under control, to be proactive instead of reactive, to minimize what they're going through.
Okay.
And so we have the legal shield, the legal insurance, and I also do, a lot of us, we do the general postmaster. I'm a postmaster agent, so there's been a lot of complaints about mail not coming, going back, and a lot of going back and forth trying to enforce those laws, on them. And I just like to just get rid of headaches on issues and just not deal with it. Just do what you need to do one time and let it be done. And again, it's a communication issue. So I have the general post. I'm a general postmaster agent, and people are able to come to me and get a physical address, and I receive it for them, and it serves for the same purpose, but they're in direct communication. Their stuff, their paperwork goes into the general postmaster, which makes everything legitimate. So I do that as well too, and we're getting ready to open up a nail school. So this Sunday, actually, I'll let you know when we have the next.
Nail? You say male?
Nail, like fingernails. Manicures, pedicures. So we're opening up a nail school. Our first registration for perfect10nailschool.com is Sunday, and so they can be out of school in as little as 6 weeks, earning an average $2,700 a month minimum, and we're putting our people into employment as well too. So the first that I know of its kind that there is something facilitated for us, like the other nationalities have, where we can start to take back some of our industries and be more in control of our financial freedom and building wealth. So that's just a little background about me, and that's just a little bit.
I know. But now you spoke about the general post, and I have the general post. I got that from you, and it really comes in handy, and it's important for us to understand the importance of having general post. I don't. If you come by my house, there is no address because I'm not a resident. I'm a citizen of the state, but I'm not a resident. I'm not a corporate fiction. I'm not dead. I'm alive. I'm a man, and so there is no address. I'm not a resident. But could you give us the breakdown on the importance of having a general post in regards to law and dealing with that kind of stuff?
Yes, most definitely. Just as you just mentioned, because you're taking yourself out of the public and into the private, so that there's not a jurisdictional issue. You don't have the address that is on your home, on your mailbox, and usually what people would do, they would go to the post office and try to go to the counter and go pick up their mail straight from the counter, and they were so that they can deal straight with the postmaster agent, and they were having complications. Not only that, the benefit is that it takes care, it verifies the private side of it, but when it's for your protection and it's also for your privacy. So if there's any correspondence that need to be served, they're not coming to your home. They're not sending those correspondence and then addressing it to you, where if they, have to serve something and then it's limited to that address, right? Because it's not public. So it's not out there where it's easily accessible, and then they have to deal directly with you. And it also allows for you to not have to worry about doing all of the different now the only difference is that the post office delivers it because that is the service that they provide for the postmaster agent. But as far as being registered in the system, that is done on through documentation that is submitted, so they already have you on that list they already have you on this list, and then there's a privacy statement where they even let you know, hey, we don't give your information out to nobody that requests it,
right,
or whatnot.
Okay.
And it's not even a lengthy amount of information or personal information. It's not like they're getting your social or nothing like that. It's nothing that is in reference to that. They just identify you, and you fill out the application with us, and then you can have all of your mail for yourself. And we do it on the corporate side too. So we do public and private. So we do it for businesses, and we do it for the natural man or woman or individual. And I like to say individual because individuals are also corporations, and a lot of people are, doing their DBA, for their fiction. And so you want to make sure that that fiction has an address where it resides, where it can be contacted as well too. And if you're in the process of trying to separate everything, separate the live being from the corporate fiction, then you most definitely don't want them staying in the same place, because wherever the fiction is, that's who they're coming to pick up when they're sending out correspondence, warrants, and things like that. They're sending correspondence out for and the contracts out to the corporate fiction. And so it's just like having a business. If you're a sole proprietor, you don't want for your personal information, like your address and everything, to be public record, so your customers, anyone, know where you live, so that they can come directly to you. And you want to have a separation, because it is a different entity. Then it is an entity, and it's a different entity, so it needs to have a setup of its own where it can receive correspondence, and then you have you're establishing that minimum contact.
Okay. Well, now,
and so the benefits of it is that you still get your mail and everything, but we send it to you electronically, and you can get that at businessfront.space.
Okay. Well, now because I got the General Post, and we are networking with that. You want to tell us about the networking side?
Yes, for it. When you you have we give networking opportunities where you can refer people to offer the General Post or for their businesses as well. And so we give out commissions for the different packages that we have that are located on our website, which are bronze, gold, silver packages, for example. And we also have them for individuals like as well, where they don't know about public, private, or whatever, but it's just for the convenience of them, for an alternative to a post office box, because you have a physical address, not a post office box. It ranges from I believe the commission is $25 up to $125, I believe, $125 commission. And so you can, again, go to our website and contact us, and it just depends on which of the 4 packages that they choose. We pay out those commissions, and they're daily. As soon as they pay for their account, we send you the commission through PayPal.
Okay. All right. Well, now, if somebody went to my website, because I have my General Post information there and have access to call me, and if they want to do that, but I want to make sure that you explain why people should have a General Post versus being a resident. If someone went to my website and they were interested in that, and they wanted to sign up, what website would they go to in order to get that done? And how would they connect to me networking-wise?
Well, most definitely anyone that is referred or come in through you, most definitely, they would go to your website, which is the debt elimination. And I believe you have a link, a link that is on there. So you would go to that link and just sign up, as normal for it. And then you can just let Tarhaka through an email just know personally that you're interested in the business opportunity and the referral opportunity. And then we'll send you a 1099 that you can put in, that you can use an EIN for, so that we can be able to send you out the commissions.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds simple enough. All y'all got to do is go to
1099, a W-9. I meant to say W-9, I'm sorry. We'll send you a W-9 form for you to submit in, and it's just that simple. It's not that's the only thing you have to submit to become a referral agent.
Okay. All right. Now, what about renewal?
It's annual, so each one will carry you for a year long, but you can get them for more than 1 year if you want to lock in that rate, because they are subject to change. But when it renews, or the membership renews for the next year, then you'll also get a commission will automatically come for you for that renewal. So it's residual.
Okay. All right. And then the individual that get that, they can start networking and referring other people and stuff, and they get their commissions. And so you're saying that an individual can be in the private and profit at the same time, and be a non-resident and profit as a result of being one.
Exactly. Today it's all about duality. Having something that benefits you with solving your problems and your issue, but also that pays you as well too. We try to keep in mind, and I try to tell people as a nation of people too. We have so much money coming out that it's great for us to have something that gives us the opportunity to bring income back in, and that's what this does.
Okay. All right. Well, this is what I want to do. I'm going to take 2 minutes and 31 seconds. I want you to tell me what you think about this, okay? Hold on.
In 1969, there was a Minnesota court case involving a man named Jerome Daly, who was challenging the foreclosure of his home by the bank which provided the loan to purchase it. His argument was that the mortgage contract required both parties, being he and the bank, each put up a legitimate form of property for the exchange. In legal language, this is called consideration. Mr. Daly explained that the money was, in fact, not the property of the bank, for it was created out of nothing as soon as the loan agreement was signed. Remember what modern money mechanics stated about loans? What they do when they make loans is to accept promissory notes in exchange for credits. Reserves are unchanged by the loan transactions, but deposit credits constitute new additions to the total deposits of the banking system. In other words, the money doesn't come out of their existing assets. The bank is simply inventing it, putting up nothing of its own, except for a theoretical liability on paper. As the court case progressed, the bank's president, Mr. Morgan, took the stand, and in the judge's personal memorandum, he recalled that the plaintiff, bank's president, admitted that, in combination with the Federal Reserve Bank, did create the money and credit upon its books by bookkeeping entry. The money and credit first came into existence when they created it. Mr. Morgan admitted that no United States law or statute existed which gave him the right to do this. A lawful consideration must exist and be tendered to support the note. The jury found that there was no lawful consideration, and I agree. He also poetically added, only God can create something of value out of nothing. And upon this revelation, the court rejected the bank's claim for foreclosure, and Daly kept his home. The implications of this court decision are immense. For every time you borrow money from a bank, whether it is a mortgage loan or a credit card charge, the money given to you is not only counterfeit, it is an illegitimate form of consideration, and hence voids the contract to repay, for the bank never had the money as property to begin with. Unfortunately, such legal realizations are suppressed and ignored, and the game of perpetual wealth transfer and perpetual debt continues. And this brings us to the ultimate question. Why?
All right, sister.
I love it.
This is what I want to ask now. In regards to what we just heard, how does having a general post play into that? What are the benefits?
Oh, okay. Well, having a general postmaster, a general post, it assists in moving the home from out of the public into the private, where as far as the jurisdiction that the court would have, with it being following up under the statutes of what qualifies as a residence, and the taxes that it has on its tax roll and its books is taking that address or that property from out of there where it doesn't exist, at least the address of the property. So it makes it so that they can't come there. But there's a few other things that has to go along with it, if I may, that will make it even more effective to cover, all of your bases. Because I heard a lot of interesting things in that clip. Because he asked the question why, and you asked the question why, and I understand the concept of the decision, but I also understand why it still perpetuates today. First of all, let's deal with why people are losing their homes. Some of them are losing their homes because of taxes. So let's just address that.
Right.
Here in the state of Florida, a lot of people don't even know that the ad valorem taxes is voluntary, and you can opt out, and it's in the statutes. So I spend a lot of time. Yes, I spend a lot of time reading constitutional law and UCC and all that other kind of stuff because I'm going for my bachelor's in maritime law enforcement, so we're required to do all of that. But I spend the most of my time going through statutes because that is where the policy and the procedure lies, that the companies or the corporations create their policy and procedures from. And they have to align with the statutes, just like the state constitution has to align with or be in harmony with the federal one. Okay, so a lot of people don't even know that they can opt out. First of all, so if they're not taxing anything, then they can't go back in. Because it's been removed from off of the tax lien, it's not incurring a debt, and therefore they cannot do their version of an adverse possession on the property by executing the lien, because that's what it is, what they do through the tax process. Then the next thing is why people are losing their home is because they've invested so much money into the home, and then they find out about the whole fraud thing or whatnot, and the consideration issue, just like the recording was saying. And it's let's say because there's always a B and C party. So the borrower, because I'm also a mortgage broker, so since 2006, 2004, 2006. So I know the back office stuff about the paperwork on what's on loans and everything. So there's something called a truth in lending disclosure, and on this truth in lending that is in everyone's packet is an amortization of how many payments they would make and what those payments would be each month for whatever the length of the term is that they extended the loan out for. Let's say if it's 30 years. And it shows how much money that is the principal, how much is the interest, and how much is the total amount that you would have invested into that product if you went the whole 30 years. So then that goes back to what they're talking about with the bank. So and the accounting of the bank where they're creating the money after nothing. So the borrower is the we're going to make the borrower A. We're going to make the bank that supposedly did the lending B, and we're going to make the company that you purchased the house from, whether if it was a builder or a seller or whatnot, C, right? Okay, so there was something, even though it was everything, we're in an electronic age right now. And even though there were credits that were transferred over, those credits still turned into something tangible that the end party, C, was able to turn into currency and use and utilize. So something was created in its electronic form because it's another aspect of the Federal Reserve notes or money. Now, yes, they do have the promissory note and this extra money that they're speaking of, that they're creating something out of nothing, is the hypothecation of that principal amount of the note. So because taking money from depositories, from other people, they cannot take their money and invest it, they have all these other companies, I believe, like Bank of America, I believe, or it's either Bank of America or Wells Fargo. One of them has Merrill Lynch. I think it's Wells Fargo. They have Merrill Lynch. And so they have this money that coming from outside sources is where they get these quote-unquote credits from, or money from, that they use to make these investments so that they can hypothecate it. But they, whatever interest rate that they give you, whether where they got it from, if they got it from the discount window from the Federal Reserves on lending, from them lending to them, which is really initially where it would come from, is they'll go to the Federal Reserve window and then provide your social, and then they give them a term. Usually if they're going to finance it and it's long term, they may give them a half a point, something like that. But they'll give them the principal amount, and the principal amount goes into this account. And this account is saved where they can't touch it because it's supposed to go back to the principal. Well, the individual is the principal, which is A. But so that's why they have servicer. So people have to understand the whole process. See, because the bank is not the one who physically gave it to you, they're the middleman, okay? It's like them operating off of a promissory note, going behind the scenes, getting stuff for you that you don't know how to get access for yourself, because there's a lot of credentials and stuff that you have to have and things you have to know and paperwork you have to fill out in order to have access to these things. And so that's what they're getting paid for. They're paid for being a middleman and facilitating the whole transaction. So, and they get paid from off of the interest of it. But because they didn't originate it, and the money didn't come from them per se, even if it came from their investors, like they say how Wells Fargo has Merrill Lynch and it came from their investors, it has to go to a servicer. And what the servicer does is they collect the money on behalf of the bank. And when the monthly payments come in, they put in whatever's supposed to go in for the principal, and then they're supposed to, and then the interest is what they go ahead and divide their profits off of for whatever contract agreement that they have with the servicer. Now, because the agreement that you have is off of the principal amount, it's this promissory note, they start to sell the note. Because they may have given you a 6% interest rate, let's say, for example, on your loan, just for the sake of numbers. But remember, they probably got it for a half of a point or a point from the discount window. So now they're flipping the note. They're selling it. So that's called pooling. And that's how you'll see, you'll get this thing, and you'll say, oh, this company got it, this company got it, and it's not the original bank that you did the loan with. And so because what they're doing, let's say if you got that 6%, they're saying, okay, I'm going to sell you this note for 2.5%, right? So they sell the note for the 2.5%, and that doesn't include the money they've already gotten from you. And then now their interest has changed hands, supposedly. Has changed hands from themselves to the new person who is now servicing the note, which bought it, which is almost like, so when you get into, and they'll keep doing that, as long as there is a markup in between, that person can buy it and they can sell it to somebody else. So they're in it for 2.5, they can sell it to somebody else for 3.5. You see how that goes? And until they cap up at 6%. So when there comes a point in a default, And then you have this servicer that's saying, okay, I have this interest because I bought this note. It's mirror images to a debt collection process where you have this debt collector that bought this instrument from this company, but they can't legally say that you owe them because you don't even know who these people are. You didn't sign any contracts with them. And so basically that bank, they know they've already got credit when they did their taxes on it, whether they charged it off or they wrote it off as a bad debt or whatnot. So it falls up under that. It almost mirror images the Fair Debt Collection Act, where it goes through that same process. Now, and so when they're selling, it's like the original person is actually giving up their interest in the property. So now we're back to this truth in lending. So now this truth in lending has a payment schedule. So some people, they've been in their home for like years, right? And when you look on this schedule and you add up these payments, you'll get to a point where you will see, okay, I have paid the principal back already and some. You see? I paid the principal back. But when they go into the foreclosure process, they're arguing, saying this is what the balance is. And so let's say you bought this home for $200,000, for example. Well, you bought it for $200,000, and they're in there trying to foreclose on you for $200,000. And it's making you, it's fraud because it's making you seem like you paid nothing, and they're foreclosing on you because you got this bad debt. And no one ever thinks about bringing the truth in lending, saying this is what my scheduled payment is. This is how much I'm supposed to put into this home over the last years. When you calculate it to this year, according to my truth in lending, this is how much money I put in. I have paid them the principal. So that means everything else is just contract. And then they have to remember, anyways, that the bank is a judgment lien creditor. So they're going through the bank process anyways in order to get the court to agree that you breached the contract, which is the mortgage, right? So that they can execute the promissory note so that they can give the property over to you so that they can have a higher lien claim in your property than you do, because there's like tiers to it. You know, the more elements you have, the bigger the claim is that you have. And so people are kind of tricked, I guess, but it's like one of those plausible deniability things, don't ask, don't tell, where you just assume that because they have the mortgage and because they have the promissory note that you don't own the property, that they own the property, and like they can just take it from you. No, they're going through that process so that they can get the property from you, but they're bringing it based on a promissory note. But the promissory note is only based on hypothecation of, like that guy was saying, that there's no consideration that was given for the excess amount of the principal balance that's owed to you. So why should you give them something for nothing? When also through servicing, if they're not the original person, you can prove they got paid.
Okay, let me ask you this. Now, in your opinion, based on what we know and what you just stated and what we just heard, how many mortgages in the United States is either legal or lawful?
Well, active mortgages or ones that went through the process and foreclosed?
Even because, see, what I'm looking at is the bank nor the servicer gave any lawful or legal consideration. So for me, if someone asked me that question, I would have to say that all mortgages in the United States is illegal. And they're certainly unethical and unlawful.
Well, yes, I would agree, but I also would, I love to play devil's advocate. So I will also say that even though the structure for the home and the mortgage may not be lawful far as constitutional, but legal through contract law. okay? Because they still entered into an agreement. And in this, that's when they come and they say ignorance of the law is no excuse, because they've read this document that was given to them, and basically they said when they signed their disclosures, they signed a disclosure for them to receive and be qualified for a loan. And a loan is creating what? Nothing out of something. So they're right, so that they can be able to acquire something. So that's when I say you have a B, and C. So the argument that people make is they say, well, I, as A, didn't receive any consideration for it, legal or lawful, because the money didn't come to me in my hands. I've never seen the check. I didn't receive the money. It never hit my account. Because the bank, which is true, because the bank never gave you anything to endorse to physically make the purchase yourself, right? They make you a party of the whole transaction. But during that whole process of the mortgage, you're giving them permission to act on your behalf. When they're going through a title company, and that title company is who is the third party that is distributing the funds. So you're saying through your purchase contract, you're giving authority that the binder, the down payment, and the closing transaction to on that HUD-1 to be distributed through whatever title company. So you gave that power of attorney to them when you did that process, and they're the ones who distribute the funds. So the fact that the bank sent the money electronically to the title company, and the title company then distributed to party C, which may have been the builder, or if it was a private individual that individual that you bought the property from, they still was able to take those credits and turn it into currency so that they can be able to make purchases. They received a consideration for their property that they sold that releases them from out of the whole deal. So now you haven't given your property over to the person. Only thing you have given them was just a promissory note for nothing, for a loan, right? For a loan, saying that you're going to give them this money back, or the credits or the consideration that they transferred, and in the event that you don't, then you're going to put up your property for it through the promissory note. And they still don't have it because there's other laws that protect you. Because if your home is homesteaded, then they can't take it anyways. And that's why you go to court and they put all those names of those people on there, you, tenants, and people they don't even know the et al. And all of that, so they can say anybody that has an interest to come forth and claim whatever your interest is, and why your interest have more of an interest in the property than I do. And so with playing devil advocate about it, they still made a contract with you, saying, and you agreed that they were going to give you nothing for something, but they kind of did give you something because that third party got it. But my argument is the fact on the advocate side is that on that truth in lending, when you have made payments, because once you start making payments on it, that solidifies the contract that you're in agreement with it. So I mean, if you went into the contract and you didn't solidify it with the payment, then I see someone making that argument. But once you start making payments and you made it so for so many years under those terms, you're in agreement that is what occurred. Now, playing the advocate, I would say that that individual that has the mortgage that is getting ready to foreclose, that they need to know that they're not dealing with the home per se, they're only dealing with the contract itself. And through that truth in lending, they can prove that if the base amount of your home is $200,000 and you've paid that $200,000, don't bring me to court trying to sue me for everything's going to be a total of $400,000. You suing me for the same price that we left off at because you put the money. You didn't allocate it, not even evenly, between principal and interest or whatnot. So that's what we're really dealing with is the fact that I don't know if you would say that they're defrauding the court. I think it's just ignorance because of tradition, and it may be a little bit of both, that they're so boilermade, templated, and traditional going into the courts from the judges and the attorneys that when they're bringing these cases forth and then the public, the people don't know about how to utilize the documents that's in their packets, the mortgage, reading the clauses that are in there for their benefit to get them at breaches of contract first, as well as that truth in lending to prove that they have made payments, that they're not entitled to the principal amount of it. I mean, they're not entitled to sue you for interest. That's what they're suing you for. They're suing you for more interest. And that's not what your contract was about.
You know what? My approach in dealing with them is the same approach that I used when I dealt with them. First of all, when they came here for the signing, they brought this big envelope. They didn't tell me, well, look, we're going to come over for the signing for the home, and you need to have your lawyer present so we can go over the documents before you sign. They didn't do that. They just come up, pull them out, sign here, and then they told me that the bank would give me a loan. So when I went to the bank, I carried the documents that they gave me, walked into the bank, and the chief examiner for Bank of America was sitting right there, and she took my documents. When I told her who I was, she said, well, I was expecting you. They told me you was coming. And she went in the back, and she came back, and she done the same thing that they did at the house. Sign here, sign here, sign here. And she collected papers and congratulated me. And I was like, okay, where is the check? And where is the document that you signed, the bank? I need the papers that with your signature on, which none of that took place. But what I want to do now is ask you once again about the general post in regards to the situation and how it plays in knowing what we know now.
Oh, yes, most definitely. So bringing all of that to a head is a lot of people, they're using the general postmaster so that they can bring their property from out of the public. So that the police can't deliver summons and warrants and things of that nature, because it makes it private, and it takes it from out of the public under the post office under U.S. jurisdiction unto the general post, which we know that they have a whole nother law, itself, and so it protects it. It combined with a few other things that I mentioned before together protects the property and protects the individual as well. And protects the individual as well in reference to being usurped, served, falling under the jurisdiction because the home is no longer under the United States corporation. It's under that zip code, under that P.O. box. So even with us, you have a zip code and you have a P.O. box, but it's not under the post office. It's registered. It's under the post office only for delivery purposes, but for the postmaster agent, there's actual forms that are submitted that list you up under their their rules, their jurisdiction instead.
Okay.
So
now
so it has that dual function.
Okay. I have a way of dealing with them in the private, first of all, and bringing the whole thing to head. So when it comes time to bring this thing out into the public, everything is we're dealing with a situation where, in my opinion, I think it would be best with the information that we have to bring forward, and this includes the dealing with the Internal Revenue Service, student loans, all of them. In my opinion, all loans in America is illegal because there is no money. But we're not going to get down into all of that because in a few I'm going to be running another clip because we want to find out exactly what happens at the bank. and then we'll come back and we're going to get down into these lawyers and stuff too. So what I want to do now, before we go forward, I'm going to take another little quick break, and then we come back, we're going to find out what happens to the bank. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Hold on.
What does Tarhaka Secured Party and Creditor package entails? Private consultation by phone and email. The correct system for paying your property taxes in the private. The documents you will need to conduct business and transactions, public and private. Tarhaka Library. Documents for status change in commerce, master study manuals, and trust guides. Free credit repair with all 3 credit bureaus. A business for you in itself. Educational materials on DVD and CD sent directly to your postal box. 1099's education and how to file. How to become a private banker the right way. Asset building, protection, and investing. We also, for all of our clients, host our private conference calls. To access this kind of education and power, go to www.newdataelimination.com or call me directly, 904-303-9061. Also keep in mind, we have the top, best financial advisors there is. Peace.
Here's really what has transpired. You know, if you look back when you bought a home, you went to the bank and you filled out some paperwork. And one of the pieces of paper that you signed was your mortgage. And it was notarized and it was recorded with the Register of Deeds, or clerk of county, clerk of court, whatever, okay? And the other piece of paper that you filled out and signed was a promise, and let's say you borrowed $400,000. Well, you signed a piece of paper where you promised to pay that man across the table or his representative $400,000 over a period of 30 years or 20 years or whatever the term was. But you signed that piece of paper and it was not notarized. But it was like signing a blank check. But it was a promise to pay which made it a negotiable instrument. Now, when you signed that paper, you thought that the bank was going to give you $400,000. That's what you thought. Well, when you signed that piece of paper, what did they give you? They didn't give you anything yet. You just signed the document, and that piece of paper became an asset for that bank. It was now an asset that they owned. You no longer owned it. Yours was a promise to pay. So that asset was now $400,000 of theirs, and here's what they did with it. They didn't give you any money yet, but they took that asset and they created a bond, just like you would bail your nephew out of jail. They created a bond, and that bond they took it to the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve gave them approximately 10 times the amount of your promise to pay. Now, let's say your promise to pay was $400,000. The Federal Reserve gave them a credit of about $4 million. Now, how much money have they put up? They have put up absolutely zero. They leveraged, and the technical word for it is monetized, but they leveraged your promise to pay to create $4 million. And they still had your promise to pay. They kept it. They just created a bond. They then took your promise to pay to another party, and we'll call that party a wholesaler, and that wholesaler took it to what we call an aggregator or trustee, and it was then sold to a trust. And 95% of the trusts are in New York. So it was sold on Wall Street. Well, where did the money come from for this note? Where did it come from? Well, the trust filed, before you even applied for that note, the trust filed what we call an 8K filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and we'll call it the Rosado Trust. And they told the Securities and Exchange Commission that they were going to sell investment certificates, and they were what we call mortgage-backed securities, or they were called CDOs, collateralized debt obligations. Whatever fancy term they called it, that note was the security for these folks to induce certificate holders or investors. Let's just say the folks that are listening to this phone call, let's say they represent the school teachers in their area. So the school teachers' pension plan invested $10 million each into this trust that was backed by your promise to pay. So they were given, let's say 6% return on their investment. But you were paying maybe 7%. So the trust was earning money. Okay? Now, those certificates, okay, that were purchased by the investors, okay, that money went back to the bank that you signed that promise to pay with, and that's where the funds came from for you to buy your house. Wow. Wow. Listen to this for a minute. That piece of paper that was never notarized traveled all around the world, gathering a lot of money. It created $4 million for the bank in credit on your signature. It also induced a lot of school teachers' pension plans or firefighters' pension plans to invest into that trust. They got an investment certificate, and the funds came backwards to the bank, and the bank then, through the title company, they provided the $400,000 to purchase the house. Good deal. Very good deal. For who? For the bank. They got $4 million in credit and didn't put up a nickel. Now, the trustee for this trust, he is provided what we call a pooling and services agreement. That's his management book. That's his rules. That's what he has to follow to comply with the SEC rules. So in that pooling and services agreement, there's a clause in there that says if you fail to pay your mortgage, they entered into an insurance contract so that if that mortgage wasn't paid, the insurance company would pay it. But the money wouldn't go to you. It would go to the trust. So then we call that a credit default swap, and the insurance company is, listen to this, AIG. Now, when you got in trouble, and, you lost your job or your overtime, or for whatever reason, you tried to contact the bank and you got the runaround. You ended up talking to this person, that person, submit these papers. Oh, we lost them, submit them again, and all that crap that goes with it. But you were told we can't help you until you're 90 days late. Everybody's heard that. Well, guess what happened on day 91? On day 91, the insurance policy that the trustee entered into with AIG triggered a payoff, and the trust received the full amount of the note, regardless of how much you've paid on your mortgage. they got the full amount of the note. So if the note was insured for $400,000, the trust got $400,000. But here's the mystery here, and I'll explain it as easy as I can. The Federal Reserve allowed the trust to leverage that $400,000 note 30 times. So they created 30 different levels. Now your $400,000 note is purchased by other lenders, and along we go. So let's go back to the default. The AIG paid off the note when it was 91 days late. So at this point, who has lost any money? Nobody except AIG or insurers like that. Smith, Solomon, Barney Brothers, and all that stuff. Now, someone attempts to foreclose. And let's say the lender that you got the note from, they're going to foreclose on you. Or the trust is going to foreclose on you. Or let's say it's Wells Fargo acting as trustee for Bear Stearns Trust. Well, they're trying to steal the house because nobody has any skin in the game. They've all been paid commissions, and they've been very successful in stealing houses. What happened here? Well, I sat in the Fort Myers courtroom many times, and I watched folks, average folks, lose their house in 5 minutes because they didn't have an idea of what to do, didn't know where to go for an answer, and didn't have any money. Now, in this foreclosure arena, so I'll call it a football field, in this field of litigation, the only players are the consumers who have enough money to pay an attorney. And what is he doing? He's delaying the time so that you maybe save a couple of months of rent or mortgage payments. But at the end of the day, when you pull the shade down, turn the lights out, he wins a dismissal without prejudice, which means the bank that is foreclosing, who doesn't have any skin in the game, will come back again in a month and try to foreclose again. MERS technically is Mortgage Electronic Registration Systems. They were formed by the banks, and the banks became members. And MERS, at the closing table, is named as the nominee lender. They take possession of the mortgage electronically, not the hard copy, but electronically. MERS, their theory is and was that by they being the nominee lender and having possession of the mortgage electronically, they believe that the note followed the mortgage. And there are some judges who don't understand this who agreed with that. However, the U.S. Supreme Court in 1872 said if the note and the mortgage are separated because one secures the other, if they're separated, they're both null and void. And to simplify it, if you were going to buy my car, you're not going to give me the check until I give you the title. The keys to the car are one thing, but the title is another thing. Now, MERS took possession of the mortgage, but they could not take possession of the note because the Kansas Supreme Court ruled that they are not a lender. With that being said, your loan was bifurcated. That's a legal word. Bifurcated right at the closing, but you didn't know that. Now, that means your chain of title was broken. So, fast forwarding ahead, we simply said, and this workbook that I created, and I'm the only layman that I know of, and I've been told this, that's ever been approved by the Florida Bar to teach attorneys about this subject. I've subsequently been approved by the Georgia Bar, the Wisconsin Bar, the Nevada Bar, and other states to follow. So that's quite an accomplishment for a little white-haired old man to be able to be certified to teach attorneys. What you need is a securitization audit which follows the paper trail from the time you closed until it enters into the trust, and a Bloomberg financial report that pulls out all of the financial information about the trust. When you have that information and it's accompanied with an affidavit sworn under the penalty of perjury, you now have evidence, you now have admissible evidence to the court that the note was paid off when the insurance or credit default swap was triggered. Well, if the note was paid off, who is damaged? Who is damaged? Nobody. The only logical people with a claim to that house, only logical people, would be the insurance company that paid out the claim. But now, here's the end of my story tonight, and then I'll open it up for questions. If you have your vehicle insured by, let's say, Geico, and you total it, Geico will write you a check for the value of the vehicle, but who owns the salvage rights? Now, think about that for a minute. Write your question down. Think about it. The salvage rights are owned by Geico. They then part it out or salvage, sell it, whatever, so they can minimize their losses. Well, in the foreclosure arena, the insurance company is Geico, and if they paid off the certificate holders, then they would have a claim to the house. Logical. Except they insured unsecured notes. Remember, at the closing table, MERS became the nominee lender. It separated the note from the mortgage. The U.S. Supreme Court says that they're separated. They're both null and void. Well, Geico insured unsecured notes because the notes that were not accompanied by the mortgage or vice versa. Therefore, they had no claim on the wreck or the house. Whew. Now.
So essentially they're double dipping or more. They're double dipping and triple dipping even.
Absolutely. And today, Geico has a big-time lawsuit against Bank of America because Geico, I'm not Geico, my God. When you get my age, you can invent words. AIG has a major lawsuit against Bank of America because Bank of America defrauded them on the quality of the loans. The loans were rated AAA by Standard & Poor's or Moody's or whatever, when in fact they slid into that pile of loans. They slid in some toxic loans, some marginal loans, and Geico ended up paying based on misrepresentation. Wow, what a hornet's nest. Here's what you do, and I did this with Regions Bank. I walked into the bank, and I said to the girl, I want to talk to the president. The bank has dirty diapers, and they really smell. Well, he's in conference. I said, it's no problem. I'll just drop the diapers right here. In less than 30 seconds, he comes out of his office and he said, I overheard the conversation. What's the problem? I said, you got dirty diapers. There's fraud in these loans. Now, what do you want to do? Do you want to litigate or you want to negotiate? And so he called his legal department, and I said, here's the proof. You people have already been paid. What do you want to do? And it stopped all the activity in court because you had proof. And that's the value of the securitization audit in the Bloomberg Financial Report. So if I were a real estate investor, I would not rely on any modification because you're dealing with someone who doesn't own the note. Remember, earlier in the conversation, a lawyer here in Cape Coral and a real estate broker, they were partners. They paid the bank $156,000. And Randy, I think you saw the article. And the bank didn't own it. So if I'm an investor, how the hell do I know who owns the note? So the only way I can find out who owns the note so I can sit across the table and cut a deal is to flush them out of the woodwork. And how do you flush them out? You sue them. Wow. This old man's got a lot of enthusiasm, okay? The ability to walk into the bank and say to the president of the bank, you have dirty diapers. Do you want to litigate or do you want to negotiate? And they always would rather negotiate. And then it's a question of how much money they will take based on today's value. So if a home had a mortgage of $400,000, it's worth $200,000 today. Banks are negotiating today's value.
Okay. Sister, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. Before we go on to the next segment and stuff, I wanted to run that because I deal with this stuff on a daily basis, and people with mortgages and stuff. And the biggest problem that we have is a lack of education. That's the first line of defense for us, and also for them to do their necessary document stuff and get the ball rolling before we get down into the meat and potatoes of this thing. But what I want to ask you now is, because I think that's pretty much based on what you said and what we got, we don't cover this mortgage thing. Let's talk about lawyers. Why we need a lawyer. You want to handle that for me?
Right. I always say that we, as private people, that we get into the law, we study the law, we live, we eat it, we breathe it, we live it, we walk it, we talk it, we study it, religiously. But we do ourselves an injustice because we're not familiar with policy and procedure. And the attorneys, they live, they eat, they sleep, they breathe. That's how they make their living, off of policy and procedure. But they don't have, but because it's so traditional, like a 9-to-5er, that they don't have the opportunity to get into law. So they do their clients an injustice because they're not familiar with law, as they should be, to be effective. And so what I try to educate our people that is in the private movement that study the law, that a lawyer comes in handy, especially access to one, because, they have a lot of questions, they have a lot of issues in order to properly apply the law that expresses whatever their concern is in their case procedurally. So they don't miss a beat.
Okay.
So they don't miss a beat. They'll know what to file, when to file it. If the other person has a response, file something, then they know what to file next in conjunction or to combat that. And so that way they're filing the right motions or the right petitions or whatever it is with the right rules to back up their laws the first time. And so lawyers are good for that. And they're also good for, because we have to learn how to use an attorney. That is the problem. We don't know how to use an attorney. We have to remember we're the boss. We have to remember to instruct them on what we need done and or what our goal is or what we're trying to accomplish. They're good for if you've created your docs so that you're not prejudiced during a process, is to adopt your motions, adopt your documents, and submit them for you. And that's another thing. I try to tell people, it's not about teaching the parties involved, re-educating them on the law. It's about addressing the violations or whatever that has occurred in order to get you your remedy. And you want and they're going off of all process, court etiquette. They're going off of policy and procedure. And because we know it's not an Article III court, so, you have to pay that policy and procedure game, and you want your stuff you want to put just enough in there so that they'll know you're not a regular Joe Blow. You know something, and, but not to overdo it where they could say, oh, that's one of those sovereign citizen folks or whatever, because you just overdid it. You want for your stuff to pass through just like everyone else has passed through. And you put enough in there where they know they're not dealing with a regular person, but you don't want them to know how much you know. And so they're good. So the attorneys make time go by faster, quicker, just to having access. I'm not saying for one to go in there and speak for you, because one cannot. You can have one as a sidebar to consult with while you're in the court, so that you can still speak for yourself, because in the court process, that's the most important part. If you have to get to that point where you need to speak for yourself, no one can speak like you can, but they need to know that just because they get an attorney doesn't mean that they have to be their mouthpiece. They can have them as being a sidebar attorney, where if there's something going on in the process, someone that can kick them under the table, to tell them, no, don't say that, stuff like that, to still protect your interests during the process. I use them, whether if it's for sidebar or if it's for consultation, to make sure that because your mind is limited to your resources, your thought process, and your ideas, but you have to get yourself an arsenal. You have to get yourself a think tank of other creative minds just like yours, so you can have more access to information. And that's what all you're doing. You're expanding yourself to have more access to the correct information the first time.
That's right.
And to make everything effective. And that's how we're going to win. A lot of people, they make it in the court. I've heard them going back and forth because they said they're not stating the claim, which, gives them relief. They're acting confused. They keep telling them you need to get a lawyer. And people think that they're saying, oh, you need to get a lawyer because they don't want them in there exposing, saying stuff. But it's the undertones that you have to listen to. And those undertones is that 8 times out of 10 that the judge knows that there are procedures that you could have taken or you could have done to make what you're doing more effective, but you're missing them. And they can't just come out and tell you, because they're supposed to be, in some cases, unbiased. But they can't come out and practice law, which we know they do it in cases anyway, across the bench, and tell you exactly what you need to do to make everything right. But they throw little hints out, you need to dig a little deeper, go to the drawing board, you're missing something, because, some of them are really rooting, and it's hard to tell, but that's what it means. It just means that there's policy and procedures that is nothing wrong with the content of what you are saying. Is the format that you're putting it in and the way that you're presenting it is out of order. And if you consulted with an attorney, then they could have at least reviewed your documents of what you want to put in and say, and gave you a little critiquing to make sure that you got everything in there that you need that will be for your benefit and not hurt you to get the result that you need. And, it's just an issue of and that brings the issue of competency.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, and we're gonna discuss this thing about the lawyers some more, and also Legal Shield. But now let's deal with. Could you explain for the listening audience private and public and the benefits of such? Private versus public.
Well, for me, when I got into the movement, and this is what made me understand, okay?
Uh-huh.
So, I'm learning years ago. I'm learning about this public and private stuff, and but I'm in economics. That's what I do. You know, I'm an entrepreneur. Okay. You know, I live and breathe economics. Okay, I build businesses. I flip them and everything. So the whole time I'm in there, I hear a little bit of religious, you know, or cultural, you know, little drops here and there, but the heart and soul of it was economics to me, right? But no one's saying it. You know what I mean? They're just saying that for the morale of it. So when we got to the part about UCCs and got to the part about the process of becoming private, and they were saying, "Oh, create you a DNB, a fictitious name, get you an EIN number, all of this kind of stuff." Only thing on my mind is they're teaching people how to open up a business. That's the first thing that went through my mind, right? So that you don't have to use the social, whatever. Well, see, at that time, and this was like 2011, right, when I first really, you know, came into the information, and I'm listening to this. Everything was like cloudy, and I'm like, get to the point. But soon as they started talking that language, I said, oh, and as soon as they said the word commerce, I said, that's all you had to say from the first place. And it all clicked in my mind because I haven't used my social since 2004. So up to that time, it's like almost a little bit earlier. So I haven't been using my social already in the system for like almost 10 years up until that point. You see what I'm saying? So everything clicked for me where I understood what they're talking about, what they're doing, what the end game was, but they just wasn't saying that this is the heart and soul of this whole thing is economics. So if me not using my social meant that me operating under a fictitious name, right, meant that, and me having a separate address other than my own, all of this whole foundation, and having power of attorneys, if this meant that I was private because the personal me is not operating in the public with my information disseminating, then I was that's what I was doing all along, right? So there's a way. So when there's public, they're saying, okay, so you're public, you know, everything is all in one. You're using the social and all that other kind of stuff. But for me, this is what it meant, and you know, I cannot explain it from the different gurus and other people's point of view, but I can explain it for my own personal experience and observation. And you can operate in the private by, you know, protecting all that information and not using it because you're separating the flesh and blood man or woman from the corporate entity, right? So the corporate entity is the one that's supposed to be operating in the public, which means that they're the ones who's creating contracts and whatnot, right? So, but while they're out there creating contracts, then there's always some type of guarantor for it. And so what's been happening with the difference between public and private and why it's a separation, and what happened to me is everyone's just doing these UCCs and they're saying, okay, you got to have your straw man and you got to create another name or whatever to be the secure party or whatnot. But it didn't make sense to me. It just, I'm sorry. And I just argued the fact. I'm just the only one up in there saying, no. Because in economics, it didn't make sense to me because I know that if I bought a car and you co-sign for me, then who's going to be responsible? You're going to be responsible for me. So it's the live human being, the uppercase, lowercase, signing for all of the debts for the straw, and they don't even realize that they're operating because they're entering these contracts under the social, under a business entity, a sole proprietorship, right?
Uh-huh.
So that sole proprietorship is one of the 3 EIN numbers that the IRS issues. A EIN, a SSN, and a TIN. The only difference is there's a different administration, which is the Department of Social Security Administration, the SSA, that issues the SSNs. That's the only difference. But it's right there on the IRS website. There's 3 types of EINs, and the SSN is one. So, so now I knew in business that you have a sole proprietorship, a limited partnership, or limited liability company, or LLC. You have incorporation, corporation. So they got these tiers. As you move up the tiers, the difference between the two is one has all of the liability. That is a sole proprietorship. That means that whatever debts that the entity inquires and the consequences thereof are passed through to the owner. The income, everything. You're not separated. You're all as one, right? It is one is the entity and one is the guarantor. But once you get to like a partnership, for example, then you're still in the same boat, but you're just splitting it 50-50 because both of you are responsible for that entity, but your half and the other person's half. Once you get to an LLC, you're saying that depending on if you're operating as a single member, a single owner, or you're operating as a C corp, which is an S corp, or you're operating as a C corp, which means you're operating as a corporation. That's when you start to sever yourselves, where the you still have some pass-through benefits where you can claim the liabilities for your benefit for the natural person, because you are, still involved, but it's still like a different entity, but there's still some ties there. It's almost like a partnership, but just without another individual. But when you get to a corporate state or incorporated, you're not that person anymore. You're not the guarantor. It's a totally different entity. It has a totally different life on its own. And whatever debts, whatever responsibilities that it incurs it by itself, and you're not even involved in it. So you have those different tiers, and I knew that. And so I just knew that in this public and private process, that the way that, I was structured as an entity, I just knew that, okay, well, I already don't have the debt or the liability, for this, is that, and the third, but I did know that whatever I, as a flesh and blood woman, have, that whatever contracts or whatever that I guarantored on behalf of my sole proprietorship previous to me creating my entities, that I needed, before I sever it, right? Because these contracts had bought houses, had bought cars, signed for birth certificates, and all this other kind of stuff. Everything that you function in life, you acquired it. So before I could rescind it, I got to claim it first, because you never owned it, because it all belonged to the straw. It all belonged to the entity, right?
Okay.
Remember, the entity buys a car, it belongs to the car. They have possession of it. So we know that our straw man belongs to what? The corporate agencies or whatnot that we're trying to sever from. But why would you want to leave and abandon everything that you have acquired to them without claiming it first? And so then, so when I was doing my UCC, I'm like, I have to make my flesh and blood woman the owner of everything that has ever acquired up under this birth name. You see? And then once I do that, then I can start the severing part with transferring over to an estate or a trust or whatever to protect it, right? So when you can still live in the public, right, and still make money, because the way I hear it, everyone's they're moving from trying to come out of the public and trying to go private, but the way that I'm hearing it, a lot of people are not ready to do that, because in order for you to do that, you have to function in a capacity. They don't understand. You got you said you must be living on a farm somewhere where you don't have to, like what do you call those people, Amish, like you're Amish or something. You don't go out there and mingle with the outside world for nothing. You Amish, you got everything you need right there. You make your own clothes, you grow it, you back in the cotton field, but for yourself, creating everything. Mm-hmm. So, but they have to understand that the transition from going out of the public and into the private without the minimum contact and all of that is through creating that entity, is through severing those ties, is through utilizing the EIN number appropriately. Like, for example, I went to the IRS, had a very good conversation with them about public and private using the social.
Okay.
And I say,
all right.
And I said, listen, I brought the paperwork from Social Security Administration. Says you're not supposed to give social to all these companies and agencies and whatnot. They agreed with me about the whole thing that we know of, right? Mm-hmm. But they told me that it is our fault because we're the ones who uses it improperly. So they just created a system for the people who don't know no better, because they know what they mean. Mm-hmm. They know what they trying to do or whatever. So they just created a whole new integrated system to tell the difference between the people who are ignorant and illiterate and don't know commerce and or whatnot, the Goya, the slaves that they got to still maintain and control or whatever, and tell the difference between the ones who has a greater status that do know better. And so he said, for example, there's an EIN number for the sole proprietor. And that's what you're supposed to use to take to your job and use those. They're filling out these W-2s instead of filling out 1099s in order for them to work with the companies. And then, that's a whole other issue that it arises from taxes, this is that and the third. So, and so I was like, well, you got to provide me with the proof on that, because nobody is going to believe this conversation. And I'm just making a long story short. But it's just a lot of, again, people not having correct information, misinformation, or just not having enough of information. You know what I'm saying? It's not that the information that they're acting on is incorrect. I never say that. It's just that they don't have all of the information they need, because everyone's walk in this process is different according to the reason why they were attracted to it, the reason why they're doing it. Some may have child support issues. Some may have no issues going on. They're just, an advocate like that. They're just inquisitive like that. And, the list goes on and on and on. But whatever that reason is, they haven't had the opportunity to sit down with someone to tell them their whole issue of what they need to apply the process for and why they're doing it, in order for them to have all of the necessary information so that they can apply it correctly. So they can still operate in the public up under EIN number, not using their social, still making money out here in commerce, and not and going into contracts, but not being a guarantor for it. You see what I'm saying? Setting up through, it's still acquiring credit. They got a place for that. They got corporate credit. That's Dun & Bradstreet. They do that. They run corporate. And you're still separated from your entity, because remember, at the end of the day, you're still, your all caps name is still an entity that is operating. And so that's, I'm sorry, this Amber Alert thing just goes off on your phone. I don't even know how it got on here.
Well, I tell you what,
so
this is what we're going to do.
What it means
Hold
for
on.
me.
What we're going to do is take a little quick break, and when we come back, then we'll continue. We're going to be gone a few moments, okay?
Okay.
All right. Be right back. All right, sister, we back, and what I want to do is now we're winding down, is to give the listening audience a chance to ask questions. If you have a question for our guest, Sister Rashima, the number to dial into the broadcast is 310-982-4184. That's 310-982-4184. Press 1 on your phone, and that'll give us an indication that you have something to say. Okay? All right. Sister Rashima, you still with me?
I'm still with you.
Okay. Legal Shield. Tell us about Legal Shield. Now I'm already signed up, and it's rolling. Is good. Is great. It's fantastic. And so tell us about it. How that thing works.
Well, what Legal Shield is it's a revolutionary point of the industry that we are in. We know that we're receiving ineffective assistance of counsel. We know that a lot of lawyers, I saw one in a magazine. Every chance I get, I show them a picture of a law firm that did an ad for legal malpractice. And if you're a lawyer, misrepresented you, or you got a problem with them, call us. We'll sue them for legal malpractice. When it gets that bad, when they're starting to sue each other, that something is popping off. And so, just like Blockbusters, they went out of business because of Netflix. And Netflix has an app that you can access movies for, and they have taken over the industry, and they own no videos, they own no stores. Uber has taken over the industry from an app. They were putting the cab companies out of business all through an app, and they are making tons of money, revolutionizing the industry again, and they own no cab companies. We have... And that's and Facebook, for example. Facebook, they sold themselves making a whole lot of money, and they're an app. They're a media company, social media, and they own no content all through an app. And that is what Legal Shield is. Legal Shield is revolutionizing the industry in law all through an app, and they own no law firms, where you have access to a law firm in your state, and you're covered all over the country. So no matter if you're in another state or in your state and you have issues in another state, or you travel, you're covered everywhere. You have unlimited consultation for any legal issue, and they'll even go to court, handle tickets for you. They have a whole bunch of benefits. While you're paying $250 for a 1-hour consultation with an attorney in order for you to get some concrete answers on what you need to do to handle your situation, you will pay that for a whole year and have unlimited consultation for any legal issue. And
so if someone wanted to sign up, if they went to my website and they clicked on the Legal Shield link and they wanted to sign up, how much money they would have to do for, let's say if they want to do it for themselves, or if they want to do it for their family, how much money would that be to have access to these lawyers month after month after month?
Oh, wow. An awesome $19.95 a month for the whole for a whole entire family. That's the individual, their wife or husband, their significant other, all of their children up to the age of 26, all of their dependents as well are covered for $19.95 a month. Then they have $17.95 if they're just an individual.
Okay, and that's now if they sign up for just one time, that's $19.95 plus $10 registration, and they get
a one-time
membership
$10
number,
enrollment fee.
And then they get access to the lawyers. They got the phone numbers, they got the fax numbers, the mailing address, the whole ball of wax. They got the membership number. So the only thing they will have to do is contact the lawyer, give them the membership number and start talking.
Start talking, exactly, and want to call you back, and you tell them what's going on, and you can be able to make sure all of your options are covered. You don't like the vibe or whatever, you can call back, have a different one contact you. I mean, you're in charge. You're the client. You're the member. I mean, each one of these firms, you know, they get paid a lot of money to pay special attention to you, and that's the benefit because you're an established client. People take care of people that are already established clients versus you going out here being reactive to one of these attorneys is just meeting you, and they're taking advantage of your situation and the fact that you got time frames and restraints. So, and the fact that they're thinking of you as a one-time income opportunity, so they're going to gouge you and make it seem like they're getting a deal. And even if they give you a free consultation, you're sitting there listening to them, and they're giving you information of some options of what they possibly can do, but not enough to solve your issue. They want to make it seem as if you need them to handle it the rest of the way and to try to hook you in that retainer. And you won't get that from Legal Shield. If you ask them, hey, well, you know, I can't afford an attorney. I got to do this on my own. So what are the steps, what I need to do next? They will let you know. And if you have issues where, well, you need representation, they'll give you a 25% discount off of the average cost for an attorney.
Okay.
So you get a discount.
Let me make sure I got this right. Okay, let's say that we single parent, got sons and daughters, 16, 17, 18 years old. They're out there, you know, you don't have all that control, you know, they're out there in the streets, you don't know where they are, what have you. But you go over there to you can go over to my website at newdayelimination.com, click on the donation page, and there's a link right there. You go ahead, click on that, and do your $19.95 plus $10 registration, and $19.95 a month. You got access to lawyers. You haven't gotten a package for foreclosure. You haven't gotten the package for the secured party and creditor. You haven't got the thing for the IRS. But you have access to attorneys that you can deal with immediately in the event that something happens. Your kid's riding around, he gets pulled over by the police. You got a lawyer. Then I've always seen television shows where people they get arrested or whatever, you know, look, I need to call my attorney. Well, the average person that I know of, they don't, they can't make no statements like that. I don't know the attorney. I ain't got no attorney. I don't even know the phone number. But with this system, with this system, you could say, look, I'm finna call my lawyer because I'm a member. I got a membership number.
Remember, Tarhaka, it goes a step better than that. At least we know these parents make sure that that not only themselves but their child has a smartphone, because this is the age of technology. And you would download an app to your phone, and in the event, you know when something's getting ready to pop off, they got an emergency call button that you just mash with one tap on your phone, and it will connect you to the law firm if you are arrested, detained, or injured. So you don't even have to warn nobody you're calling your attorney. You see something going on, maybe a police cop is pulling up behind you, and next thing you know, it's like 2-3 of them, and they have that appearance like, this is not going to go well. I don't know what to say in this situation. I don't know what to do in this situation. I want to de-escalate this issue or whatever. From a click on the button, you can call your law firm. This is my member number. This is where I'm located. This is what's going on. And you may have a situation where you may not even have to be arrested, or at least someone knows where you are and is jumping on it, because we spend the first 24 hours making that one phone call to tell family members to get some bond money together and find a lawyer. And you don't have to worry about that, like you said, because from a click of a button, you can already be informed. And I tell people all the time, if you a lot of people who have attorneys don't even have to show up to court because they have a waiver of appearance, and they don't have to show up to court because they have a lawyer going for them. Well, goodness, you wouldn't have to be arrested because they want to make sure that you appear to court. But if attorney is going to appear for you, there's no need, Then you go through that process. So it's about being proactive instead of reactive. We suffer because we are not prepared in advance, and that's why we suffer.
Well, I'm going to get them prepared tonight. Go to newdebtelimination.com. Click on the donation button. Scroll down right below the red right, and you see the Legal Shield link. Get over there. Sign up. Little 1995 for you and your whole house, and children out there in the streets, and they ain't no telling where they at, so they cover them babies. Okay, we got a caller with his hand raised, sister, at area code 440. Someone open up the phone line to see who it is. Area code 440. You are on the air. Everybody on the planet can hear you. Let me have it.
Hey, Brother Tarhaka, how you doing, man? It's Brother Micah.
Hey, man, what's going on, Michael? What's going on, brother? Let me have it, man. What's on your mind?
I got a testimony. Well, first I want to say it's a powerful show. Definitely listening in.
Thank you.
And I got a testimony. It's one of your services that I purchased. Well, first I want to give praises to the Creator. Without him, it wouldn't be possible. And I want to say your website is very powerful. I send a lot of people to your website on a regular basis. And if you're not over there at New Debt Elimination, you definitely have to get over there because, man, you said the shutdown on child support, you definitely shut them down. I really thank you on that. I really do. Your customer service was immaculate. And I know a lot of people might listen and say, well, you're off child support, so what? It's about your children. But you got to understand that child support is a very fraudulent system, and I always took good care of my offspring, but now I can do it without the outside interference.
There you go. That's what it's all about, bro.
Well, that's all I wanted to say. I want to hold the show up, but not like that.
All right. Well, we're going to get down to some more nitty-gritty, man. I thank you for calling in and giving your testimony, brother. If you could send it to me in an email. I'll throw it up on the website so we can see it. But thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. No problem.
All right. Take care.
Talk to you later.
Okay. Peace. All right. Sister, now, we done lost half of the switchboard. They going over there to the website, I hope. But anyway, could you give us the breakdown on, so they went over and signed up for Legal Shield. How can they profit? Because you're involved in not only doing stuff to protect yourself, but you got stuff going where people can benefit. They can profit from. So how can you profit from Legal Shield? What's the networking side of that thing? Give us a breakdown on that.
Oh, wow, it's awesome. Like I said, I'm only, I'm a mother of 6. So anything that I put my hands on, it has to have duality. That's what I live by, duality. If I'm spending, it got to, bring something back to me even more. And this does that. So you can go to Tarhaka's website, and when you go there, you'll see a tab where you can become associate, where you can sell the membership. And on there, you will, like something just awesome just happened. They had a double up, level up, double up, just like a job. For example, and you're promoted, you get a bonus, in some jobs at least. Well, we do things like that here too. So you can make up to, actually more than that, but let's just say $60 for every family that you help protect themselves, plus get bonuses. So you go to Tarhaka's website, you sign up to become an associate, you give an income opportunity to one person to sign up under you and help out 3 families with a membership. Not only will you get the commissions for those 3, but you'll get a $180 bonus on top of that. And every time you reach a certain amount, you would get even more bonuses. Or if you don't recruit someone up under you to give them an opportunity, an income opportunity. If you just sold 6, you'll be promoted and still get. They'll start you out as an associate, $30 per membership. So 6 times 30 is 180, right?
That's right.
And then plus you'll get your $180 bonus. That's $360 that you made, and you get paid daily, weekly, or monthly. You set the terms of where you want to get paid. If you want to get paid daily, you'll get direct deposit right to your account for helping a family not only protect themselves and giving and extending them the opportunity to reach out to other people and make money as well too. And I mean, it's just awesome. It's just great, and it goes to a great cause.
All right. Well, I got to give my testimony. I looked at my account in the trust account, and there was, of course, that belongs to the trust, but $500. So y'all do the math.
Yay!
I mean, then I went back and looked at the trust again. They go 46 more. Then I went back and looked again. They go 46 more. So when if you, in my opinion, if you love your family, protect your family.
Family, that's right.
Family is everything. If you ain't got family, if you don't have family, you got to create one. But family, in my opinion,
or at least also yourself enough to protect yourself, and that's still protecting outside family, because who you going to call to help you? If you don't have physical family, it's just you. Then you have homeboys, homegirls. You have that little network of people that you feel as if you could call on if you're in trouble, that you need. That's a part of your extended family, or at least you would think they are. They say when you're in trouble, they're really test to see who is really down with you, who's really your family, who's really your friend. And so, do yourself even a favor by protecting yourself. By doing that, it not only protects you physically, but it protects you financially.
Okay. Now I need you to talk to us about Mr. Dunbar.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Dunbar is so awesome. He is the executive director that is on our team. And I think he brings in about somewhere between $7,000 and $11,000 a month. He is in this industry full time, and he says that his full time job is just getting out of bed to go to his computer, and that's it. So and so it's wonderful. And he has the flexibility, he has the freedom to set his own schedule and his own terms just by speaking and talking to people, and on occasions going out and meeting with people. And so I think that is just so awesome, and he's very inspirational and very helpful, like whatever you need, and he makes the whole concept make sense. Even for me, I do so many different things that when I first got on, the second time I got on, because I was a part of them when they were prepaid legal, I didn't want anything that make it seem like it was something separate and different that I had to babysit. But he came in and showed me how it all fits into what I'm already doing, and once I did that, it was just awesome. And so but yeah, he's the executive director, that will give you the assistance that you need if you would like to come aboard as an associate to offer the memberships to help protect families. If you're in another state, even though he's here in Jacksonville, Florida, if you need to get training, if you need to talk to people, we can do a conference call and explain it to them so that they can sign up. You're not alone. You're not by yourself. You have a great support system, because your success is our success.
Well, now suppose people in Alabama got a large network. I mean, they told everybody about this thing. It's affordable. It's you're able to access some stuff immediately if you haven't taken the time to get my package in advance, and you need the lawyers immediately. Would Mr. Dunbar be willing to come to that town if they got a large enough listening audience for him to talk to? Would he be willing to do that?
Oh yeah, if he needs to come out in person and it's a large enough audience, and most definitely a large enough audience of people, they're ready to get engaged and they're ready to sign up, and they want to bring other people there so that when they leave out of there they can even have a maximized income opportunity. Most definitely, he does travel. He does a lot of traveling actually.
Okay, all right. Well, now this is super fantastic. So let me make sure I do a recap on this. You can now officially go to the website, click on the link, and you can access $17.95 plus $10 registration for yourself. If you're doing it for your whole family, it's $19.95 plus $10 registration, and you got access to these attorneys and any kind of services that you're gonna have to use them for. You get a discount, and at the same time you only just keep these things, so you have to go through the whole registration process no more. It's just keep just a little $19.95 a month. You, in my opinion, you can't beat that. I mean, we got brothers that's traveling out there. They've been pulled over, shot, in the car, all kind of stuff that's going on. So we need something that we can access, and I think this is super fantastic, and it's extremely affordable, and it's you can network with it as well. And in my opinion, the $19.95 just pays for itself. I mean,
yes, it most definitely does. It most definitely. I know that we mentioned that they do the unlimited consultations, but they do a whole lot more than just that.
Oh, yeah.
On the consultations and the 25% discount. I mean, a lot of us in the private processes, we're trying to put our wills together. Guess what? To take the science out for you, they'll do the will for you for free. The wills power of attorney will do the yeah. The living wills as well too, the medical ones, all of that for free. If you already have one done, send it in to them. They'll revise it for you for free.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, do y'all hear this? Go ahead, sis.
Yeah, exactly. If you have estate issues, they'll do your codicils, your healthcare power of attorneys, your irrevocable trust. They'll put that together for you as well too. They will also restore your driver's license if it's suspended or revoked. Or, it's just like gone and you need it restored. They'll go to court for you for free, handle minor traffic tickets. They say you get a traffic ticket just from an app from your phone. You take a picture of the ticket, and it sends it to the law firm. They'll give you a confirmation they got it, and they'll handle it for you. You know how many people get lost with track of issues in time or whatever, and then, they forget about it, and it compiles to something else and something more because they're not handling it right then for whatever reasons.
Right.
They'll give you vehicular homicide defense. They will also handle family matter issues like adoption, alimony, child support, child custody, visitation, divorce, guardianship, domestic violence, name changes, juvenile court proceedings, things that have to do with school administrative issues. If someone's suing you, like a civil lawsuit against you, they will give you pretrial and trial defense hours included in your plan for you for free and handle that. If you got IRS issues, there's a lot of people, they got some IRS audit issues, maybe because they probably did like a OID or something, They do IRS. If the IRS has audited you, they'll handle that issue. And if it leads to, how you go through the process, you have to go to court and all that, they'll go to court for you. I mean, it's just so much more. Plus, you get member perks, too, which are benefits where you get discounts off of, big discounts like off of your phone bill, whether if it's Verizon, AT&T, budget rental cars, AMC, the movie theaters, over 400 different name brand places. So you make savings there as well. There's just so much more they do. If you get correspondence in the mail, you receive summons, you send it to them, they'll look it over, they'll handle it. It really handles the issue where you don't have to go back and forth with people or individual. Debt collection issues, law enforcement enter your property without a warrant, you're wrongfully accused of committing a crime, like I said, you get subpoenaed or whatever, unfair debt collection, just so much. And you can go to his site, and they got videos there, that you can watch. They'll explain it to you more, and you can review so much more of the benefits that they offer too. And the best thing about it is no contracts. So once you sign up for the plan, it's not like, oh, I'm locked in. And the sign-up process, I love it because it is just so simplified.
Simple. Let me
Wow.
give them the simplicity of this thing. When you click on that Legal Shield link, just look to your left and say Legal Shield Plans. Click on that, and it will take you to a page with either the $17.95 or the $19.95. And there's a menu under that if you want to get any of the other stuff that's available to you, like identity protection and all of that stuff is there. And you just click Buy Now on the one you want, and it takes you to another little menu. Click on that, and it drops down in whatever state you in. Just click on that state, and boom, do your payment, and they send the information to you, including your membership number and all the other information that you would need based on what you're going to try to do. It's very, very simple. But go ahead, sister. I just want to break in with the simplicity of that thing.
Oh yes, it is. Yeah, like you just mentioned. It's just basic contact information. That's it, and your payment. So I just love that about it. But you can go there and you can see all of the different things that they'll handle for you. You got some of us, we're trying to get Social Security. We got Social Security disputes. We got Medicare disputes, Medicaid disputes, personal injury, property. We need promissory notes, or, the list goes on and on and on. And and you can call in with as many issues. Because what I want to say about, it's not the fact that you got an attorney, but it's a law firm. There's a difference between the two. Have you ever experienced going to an attorney and then they may can handle one issue? Let's say they may handle, criminal issues and, and maybe some family law issues, but you have other issues going on. You say, I got me my lawyer. As soon as you have something outside of their practice, they're going to have to refer you to somebody else. And then have you ever experienced calling around trying to find one and can't? So they say call the attorney bar, I think association line or something. Then you call there, and then they want to charge you $50 in order to give you a referral so that you can do the same thing again, call around to try to find an attorney. Right. Well, with this, you got one phone call, and through that one phone call, you just let them know whatever your issue is, and they'll find that attorney in your area that handles that practice of law for you with one phone call, and it saves you the hassle of shopping all over the place. Because with a firm, they practice all matters of law, and they have everyone there that can communicate with each other to be able to get the answers that you need about your issue by going to one another and to handle, like I said, all aspects of law, rather if it's private law, contract, UCC, if it's family, divorce, whatever the case may be. Family law or or whatnot, everybody's there. And that's what I love about having a law firm as a one-stop shop.
Okay. All right. Well, sister, I tell you what, you've done a marvelous job giving us a breakdown on that thing. And you've also stated, for those of you who have just tuned in, keep in mind the phone lines are open, 310-982-4184. If you have a question for our guest, go ahead and press 1 on your phone when you dial that 310-982-4184 number, and I should be more than happy to answer your question. Now, let me ask you this, sister. Now, for those new people who may not have been here at the top of the broadcast, how can they utilize your victims of malicious? Could you give them another little quick brief about what it's about and how they could utilize that?
Right. Well, again, what BUMP does, and we are steadily revolutionizing the best way we can reach out and help people. But we started out with helping victims of malicious prosecution, and that is where people claim that they are victims of ineffective assistance of counsel issues. They really are not guilty of the crime at all, normally because there's no corpus delicti. There's no injury to person. There's no injury to property. There's no evidence to support a claim as such. And they're being basically treated like a number in the system. The quicker we get them in, the quicker we get them out, and none of the resources that are supposed to be afforded to them that is being spent on the process is not being done. And so, we want to what we do is try to prevent wrongful convictions during the pretrial stage, because it makes absolutely no sense for someone to go through an arrest process and be convicted and then have to appeal, even though it does happen, because depending on where you live, you just have people that just commit these grievous violations against you. But, at least knowing what to do to document that process and advocate, it goes a long ways. And we do that through mediation, deterrence, and community education, which means that, we try to, because it is a language barrier between what is called, quote unquote, the layman and these overeducated people that, that they are not assisting us the way that they should. And that's because you should be the first defense of being able to know what part everyone plays in the system and what their responsibility is to you, and your recourse of what you have to protect yourself in the event that even the same people that are supposed to serve and protect you, even if you're paying them, that you know what your remedies are. You know how to enforce it instead of feeling helpless during the process. So we do that through community education so they can know, for example, having a lawyer. Okay, having a lawyer is one thing, right? But then you have to know what the relationship between the lawyer and the client is, according to the rules of the Florida Bar. Because they have things that say this is the type of relationship you're supposed to have with them, and this is what's due to them. And if you're not doing this, if you're not competent, if you're not diligent, if and so on and so forth, if you have poor communication or whatever, there are penalties against them for that, where they can get sanctioned, disbarred, fined, the license is revoked, the whole 9 yards. And we don't know that. We're just saying, and, we don't even know how to articulate those things and use the proper policy and procedure that we need to remove an attorney, and how to speak their language. And so, that's what we try to do, rather if it's trying to address and prevent color of law abuses, ineffective assistance of counsel, prosecutor, having the prosecution to utilize diversion programs more often than just jumping first at incarceration, mediation, where we try to resolve an issue before it gets out of hand. Help them file grievances as well too. I have a story to tell. So it's this gentleman, and he was falsely arrested.
Okay.
And we had the evidence that he was falsely arrested. And so just knowing procedure, policy and procedure, that the people that are in charge of the police that you make complaints to is, and it was the first correspondence was made, was to Internal Affairs. So Internal Affairs was contacted in writing saying this is what occurred, these are the violations that your officers made. We know that he's going to go to first appearance, right? First thing in the morning or within that first 24 hours. So there was a demand made. Because the problem is that people have to realize is that you're going into courts. You're going into courts because remedy has to happen. And if you don't bring the remedy, then they're going to bring the remedy for you, and that's what adjudication is, bringing remedy.
Right.
So we already came with their remedy, release him immediately. So when he went to first appearance, he said they didn't even address the issue. They just act like nothing happened and just say stay out of trouble. But a lot of people are just happy with just being released and not having to deal with that issue. But we say, oh no, we're going to get him. So set him up so that he could be able to file for his grievances and sue. And I don't mean sue, which means going through a whole court process, because these people have insurance. So we called, we made an application to their insurance policy, and they paid him for arresting him.
Okay.
He called me back, and he says, I am so pissed. And I said, why? He says, all the times that they've been effing with me, I could have been got paid. Because during the process, they were trying to say, oh, he's a felony. He has a history or whatever, try to make it seem like he's the bad person. Regardless of that, these are the policy and procedures that you violated. That was a no. You're held to a higher level, and he wound up getting paid. And he was like, but of course we went through an attorney, right? To do the process. It's just that we just knew the laws that needed to be applied to it, and that is the educational piece. Just knowing how to instruct people on what to do and how to do. But now we're at a point. Bump is at a point now, is where we are. We're not, even though we're nonprofit, we're not government funded. So, we have people that care about people and care about the community and put their own time and sweat equity in here, for nothing, for free. People that you help, they don't even give you nothing. We understand that they are stressed out because of whatever they are going through or what's happening or whatever, but still, So, but because of the way things are going, now we make it so that in order for us to teach people how to use an attorney, which is on top of our public education, because we don't do documents for anyone. We don't do anything like that. We just, do community education, and we don't give legal advice because we're not attorneys. We implement Legal Shield as well, so that once they have Legal Shield, then if they need to articulate their situation to the attorney, because we understand that they're traumatized and they can't express themselves to where they can get to the point where they can understand what they need, because they're telling them the whole situation and they want you to get to the punchline. We'll assist them with that, on how to use an attorney and to make sure that they are not being a victim of ineffective assistance of counsel, so they can get quick remedy and the law is applied to the procedures appropriately without any steps being missed.
Okay. Now, how do they get over there to that website?
Our website is victimsofmaliciousprosecution.com. That long thing all spelled out, victims, and that's plural, of maliciousprosecution.com. I'm excited. We are going to come out with our with interviews and our television show and try to go on the television station, hopefully sooner than later, here locally. So keep going to the website and stay tuned, especially if you want to send in cases about your issue, because we're about colorblind justice and we are the voice of the defendants. We support the defendants. But we support people that are innocent. We're not people that go out there and you did it. People that, not those. We're talking about the ones that are railroaded, because we know that we understand about pleas. 95% of pleas are innocent people, so that's what we try to deal with.
Okay, now you got to give us a little bit more information about this television thing come up, because I want to get on there. Let me have it.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty much excited about it. We're going to go on. We're pushing to go on to Star TV 18.2, which is next to the Bounce station, and utilizing all of their marketing avenues through newspaper, radio, and everything soon. Right now, we're finalizing, putting the content together, as well as our sponsors. So not only our sponsors, but also our supporters, people that, would want to, have to support financially, to have a real voice out there. Because, we can tell people about the things that happen to us, our personal experience, and the average person won't even believe it, because they have so much faith and trust in the system. They just think that it just doesn't exist. But there's so many other people that are going through the same things that we're going through or have been through. They don't know what their options are. They think they haven't ran into someone else that has went through what we have gone through. And so it's good to have someone that says, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm experiencing, so because a court case starts with the people, the citizens as being a defendant, and ends with the citizens as being a juror. No matter of all of the people in their professional capacities that are operating the daily operations of the system, from the police, the clerk of courts, and all of that, this system starts with you, the public and private people, ends with you, public and private people, and you're making decisions on people's lives, and you're so miseducated and so uneducated. You don't even know about the color of law abuses. You probably don't even know what a color of law abuse is, the majority of people that we run into. And they think, oh, no, they're infallible. They do everything right. And so, but we have documents, we have evidence. And so, you want to support something that is the people's voice, go to our website. You can send donations there too, so that we can stay on the television, we can stay in the radio, we can stay in the news, something for us, by us, so that the only way we can make change in this system is to create something else that gives that gives the opportunity for change. It's hard to go in somebody else's system and somebody else's house and tell them what to do. So you have to have your own platform, and so we have to make more people aware about what's going on, more people aware about the different remedies that they have, that they are experiencing, and then when they become jurors, and I did my first jury trial, and I always stayed away from it, because anything that I'm not educated on and I'm not comfortable with, I stay away from, and I didn't want to be over someone's life. And so when I did my first one, not with me being a juror, but being part of a case where jurors were involved and saw that process, it amazed me that these people could not make any outside phone calls. They could not look up and confirm any information on the internet or whatnot, and they didn't even give them any information. So you have these people that just going in, and they're hearing a one-sided story that the plaintiff gives, And it just was so unfair. So, but the plaintiff all along, they've been using television, radio, public record, public court procedures to just assassinate the character of the defense. And during the process, the defense nothing is getting heard. The attorney is going through the process. They're not addressing any issues. They're going back and forth about what they can't admit into evidence, what they can't. And at the end, they're fighting the plaintiff's story. And no one knows really what's going on. And so that's why we need a defendant's voice, and that's what we do. So if you want to support that cause, you can go to victimsofmaliciousprosecution.com to make sure that we stay having the funds that we need to get on the station, stay on the station, and even send in your case, your issue, if you have something that you want to be heard.
Okay, well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to let the trust know that we need to send a donation over there so we get that going, because I want to see that thing on the TV, and I want to get on there. I have a reason to put on the TV other than looking at the news, finding out how much rain we're going to get down with all this plants and stuff we growing out here. But let me ask you this. Now, spent a great deal of time in research and study. What are you most fond of? What do you really like to study over and above everything else when it comes to law?
When it comes to law, what I really love to study, when it comes to law, that's a tricky question. When it comes to law, I love to study. Now,
I know you be studying everything, for one thing.
I study everything. That. I do. I think my biggest pet peeve is nationality politically.
Okay.
Nationality politically.
Tell us about that.
That is like my heart and soul. Well, I have this fancy about and a problem with being a melanated sister and being called Black or African American.
Okay.
And I have, like I say, I have to have stuff that makes sense to me, that's verifiable. And I'm not talking about makes sense to me because it makes my heart feel good or my soul make good, or, you know, if I put two and two together, it kind of make conscious sense, you know, and it may be religiously. I know that we're operating in a commercial world. So I need to not know how to operate. I need to be current and valid today and speak their language today using those terminology, and that was my big pet peeve. So going through a movement of hearing, you know, different concepts on nationality and religion and everything, I wanted to bring all of it to a head and know what it meant for me politically. So if I needed to identify it to corporations and administrations, Social Security Administration, Department of Motor Vehicles, you know, and stuff like that, that I'm not speaking a foreign language to them, because remember, we have language barriers. So you know, my heart and soul is that, you know, I'm on to something where I believe that in order for me to be totally free, that is something that I need to do with correcting that. So I was curious, and I wanted to know who even is responsible for, like, coming up with those terms of naming me Black and African American, and it's not consistent, you know, because I have documents going back to my grandparents where before that it was Afro-American, before that it was colored, before that it was Negro, before that, you know, and so on and so forth. And it changes every 20 years. Got the documents to prove it. It changes every 20 years, from military documents to death certificates to birth employment applications or whatever, you know, all these school enrollment applications. You just see it throughout the years. So, you know, I traced it down, and I found the governmental agency that does it. And we had a real good 2-hour conversation, and he was really intrigued because I'm an oddball, y'all. I'm just like that one that is just walking around like I've broken a glass or something. I'm precautious. You say, oh, don't worry about this. I'm not looking at the good stuff. I'm looking at the variables of all the wrong stuff could go wrong so I can be prepared, so I can keep things moving. That's me. So I'm the one who asks questions when everyone else is, not and have a why behind everything. So we had a really good 2-hour conversation about it, and I started calling to all the administrations to confirm the information. And at the end result, it let me know, going back to, a little bit what we were talking about, public and private, that it let me know that it wasn't the flesh and blood human being that I was trying to set free from this process. It was the straw man I was trying to set free. That's the one who needs to be resurrected. That is the one whose status needs to be corrected. Because you're a flesh and blood human being. No one has created you. The Constitution gives you is try to keep all of these agencies in check, because it is to try to make sure that you're ensured you're God, unalienable, or some people say unalienable rights, right?
Yeah.
And those are rights bestowed to you by God that no corporation gave you, and that's for the live flesh and blood human being before the corporate fiction was ever existed. And so going through that process, it made me realize it's the freaking corporate entity, the straw man, that is supposed to be the duplicate, the representation of me, whose status I need to correct. So, because in actuality, you're on paper. The only way you're combined and you're on paper is through the contracts that you signed saying that you was going to be the personal guarantor. So when they do a writ of attachment, what does that language say on there? It say, for the all caps, it say, go get the body. The body. The body. So it's already saying that it has something to do with something other than you, because it's saying go get the body of that such and so. So you are always free, and the only way you connect it is through those signatures and those contracts. So in order for me to make my straw man be responsible for its own self in doing business, then I need to correct its status. And so that is like my heart and soul right there. And just us as being labeled as so-called blacks or African Americans, who we are, where we originate from, according politically, that they recognize politically. And how can I use that to my benefit to set me free, to set us free?
Okay. Now let's get into the tricky part now, because let's say that there is a woman, and the woman she has a maiden name, and then she gets married. So what is it that she's going to have to do that's different from what a man would have to do on a UCC?
On the UCC, right. I had to go through that issue because I've been married more than once.
Okay.
So wow, what does a tango weave that a web that I've weaved? And so I had to go through that process because it wasn't just as cut and dry and simple. Well, so we know. So what do we do know? We know that when a man does a UCC, he just addresses the straw man in his all caps, and he should be making the secured party, which is the same name but just in uppercase, lowercase, the secured party. Then sometimes, then later on down the line, they go if they've taken on an attribute, right? Because that's what a name is. A name is an attribute. If they've taken on an attribute, then they would then transfer whatever they own over from the upper and lowercase, which is a natural person, to the attribute, which is usually to a trust. So, but what a woman has to do, a woman starts to create contracts. Well, first of all, if you're going to go into any judicial or commercial setting, that you have to vouch or address or defend or and protect your interests. you have to deal with the now of who you are right now, because that is your identity for right now, right? So let's say, like you said, the woman, her maiden name, which is also her birth name, she wound up getting married and having children, right? So her maiden name would be the organization, the straw man. And the person who the name that they're using right now of who they are would be the secured party. And basically that secured party is saying that all of the contracts and everything that the all caps have acquired it has been transferred over and it belongs to them. But however, because remember, it depends on how soon that person got married. Because, some people, they go straight from a maiden. And just to protect yourselves, I personally, and this is what I personally did, I went from my all caps maiden, right, to a secured party being my upper and lowercase maiden, then transferred or did amended it by doing a transfer of my interest over to the married name, which is the upper and lowercase, right? And I did because your estate, right, is opened up at that married name, period, right?
Okay.
Everything that you acquire, you're just adding to it. It's not the married person that you are now that's married to, because if you fill out any application, they're going to ask you what are any previous names that you used before, any aliases that you go by, right? So it has that little trail, every name that you've always used or whatever you've always been. So in actuality, one name doesn't take over the next, it just adds to it. So just like it's being a deposit account, you just add into that deposit account, or if it's an estate, right? An estate is the accumulation of everything that you are worth, right? And it's being put into this one big account. So you're saying, okay, this is the birth name, and then I just got married. So that marriage certificate is now owned by the birth name, right? Because it just added on to the estate of the birth name. You start having some babies. Those birth certificates just added on to the self-worth and the value of what the initial estate is worth. And if you get any accolades, those licenses, those diplomas and degrees, they go into that same pot too, and it just keeps adding. You get divorced, that's a judgment, right? That judgment, rather than that judgment usually will award you something monetary or some property. That goes into that estate and that property, right? So, but the person that you're dealing with of who you are now, that is just the administrator over that account. That's the person who's the trustee over that account. Of who you are now. That is the authorized user of that account. That's the and they can receive funds and everything in that account. So you're going to add everything over there, but you're just going to make whoever you are now at the end of it all the secured party, and even your however, your when you put your marriage certificate on there, then that shows the chain that you have, taken on that name, and that's a new contract that you've entered into, and then everything else that you acquired, it goes, into that too. To be on the safe side as well too, I did no, I didn't, because I did it that way, and then I moved everything over into my trust. I mean, not my trust, my estate. After I did all that, I moved everything over into my estate for my maiden name, right? And so my estate is in my maiden name, and then I did my trust and whatever name I created for my trust, which was for my 9-8. And then I moved everything over to be protected under the trust. And so all of my authentications, all that kind of stuff, I put it all in the estate. And the estate is so important. A lot of people think that the estate is just for like someone's dead or something like that. That's only half of it. That's not the whole thing. It's only half of it. Because people who didn't do their business correctly, that's just like if you die and you don't do a will before you die, then they're going to send your stuff to probate, right? And probate. But what they do in probate, they create an estate because they have to have a holding corp to place all of your belongings and your property in before they can distribute it. Well, just like Michael Jackson. Every time you see Michael Jackson before he, passed away, they say, oh, we're here on the Michael Jackson estate, right? The man's still living, but you're on the Michael Jackson estate. They're giving you a view of it. Because if you look up the word estate, it is the net worth of you, of your value. That equates to liquidity and assets. So that's all you're doing. You're just taking everything proactively and putting it already in the estate, and that's the purpose of you having your wills and everything, so you can avoid probate or government or court or whatever is not taxing your estate, so that your descendants have to pay that taxation fee in order to acquire the ownership of it. And it can just go and pass through right to them and keep them from out of your business, your mess, and for adjudicating it and everything. So that's what an estate is. An estate can own businesses. A estate can manage businesses. A estate can hold property and everything. And the trust, it distributes and protects it and manages as well, too. So that's what the trust is for. And so it protects it from, depending on what it is, whether it's taxes or to hide the beneficiaries so that if people want to attack or sue your assets, they can't get to it because the people that they're sending notification to is not the party of interest. And so that's the way that the process should be going, because about time you get to the estate anyways, right? Anybody that's opened up an estate, especially if they're a female, you would have entered in the Social Security number, and then they're going to ask you who you are right now. What name matches the Social Security number that you're putting in, that you're, having to do the guarantor for or whatever. And whoever is going to be the person that's going to speak on behalf of that estate and be the executor, that's who you are right now. You can't go in no place and you don't have any verification of identification for whoever is standing up to distribute or act upon or speak for those accounts. And so that's what so you have to remember that the uppercase, lowercase, you have to do a transfer. Don't skip over your maiden name's uppercase or lowercase from being a secured party. Because you know what happens? That all of the contracts that you sign, being a guarantor, and as the flesh and blood woman that is of in the maiden status up under that name, those contracts are still there. And you did not transfer you didn't relieve yourself from being the guarantor, and you didn't transfer any of those assets to belong to you. Because when you sign for it, it's just like you having a promissory note saying, okay, you're going to pay me back, or you're going to give me the collateral for everything, that I don't co-sign for you. Because if I'm going to be held responsible for them, they're going to belong to me any darn ways. That's what that UCC does when you make yourself a secured party. On that paperwork. And then once you have your uppercase or lowercase on there like that and the maiden, then you transfer the ownership over to the uppercase or lowercase of who you are now.
Right.
And then so because you have to have a paper trail.
Well, explain to me, because you mentioned the 9-8 number. Could you explain the significance of the 9-8 number to listening audience?
Well, the 9-8 number is, of course, the 9-8 number is a foreign identification number that is outside of the jurisdiction of the United States, which means it is not domestic. It is foreign. And so And remember, your estate is the one that's doing all the business because everything's deposited in there. Everything you own is the creation of everything is right there in that estate, and it is domestic, right? But when everything is transferred to the foreign entity, which is the trust, they receive the benefits. They're not making no money, but they're just receiving the payoff and the benefits of what the accumulation of everything in the estate has generated through its EIN. Okay. So it's outside of that jurisdiction. It's foreign, which means that it is excluded from a lot of different things like taxations and whatnot, and from taxations and just a lot of list of different things, and it helps you move towards your in doing commerce, especially if you want to be a national as well too, and when you're trying to take yourself and all your belongings, because you're dealing with international law at that point when you're addressing certain things, when they have to address the estate. I mean, not the estate, when they have to address the trust.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the EIN. What is the significance of using the EIN versus a social?
Oh, well, I mean, when you use the EIN, the social is just not there. I mean, it's like when you use the EIN, it creates a different identity for you, period. It's just like getting a new Social Security number. You have your own credit file report. It's just a new start. It's just everything everybody's just looking for, really. I mean, it's what you're supposed to, everything that you're supposed to do. It's an identification number for taxation purposes, where it reports the amount of money that you're making, your gains, your losses. It generates a credit score as well too. I put mine in, and one of my EIN number in, just to see if it was going to get me approved for a loan. And I went to Road Loans and put it in to see if it's going to create a credit history for me and approve me for a loan, and it did. And but you're supposed to, but when you're operating in, that's what it does on a public side. I mean, on a private side. But on a public side, this is what you're supposed to use properly to navigate through commerce when you're really doing business. Like I always tell people, you're doing business, and when you step out of your house, everything's commercial. But people say, well, you're running errands, you're handling your quote unquote personal business. Well, that's still business too. It's still business too. And so the Social Security number is, the administration says that this number is only to pay into the social reform program. Okay?
Okay.
So that's the only thing it's used for. If you want to participate in the social reform program, it's on the first page. Go to Social Security website. You'll see it right there. It's not even a bunch of reading, and it says that they can approve you for benefits and enroll you in school and all these other kind of stuff. Without it, they can identify you under other means. And it says that you don't issue it out and give it to nobody, because it is only to track and keep up with how much money is due to you in the social reform program. But of course, because there are people that are ignorant in commerce, they had to create another system where, because they know people are using it for employment and business and all these different type of things. And but they don't understand that they're operating as a sole proprietorship either. But it's like the lazy people that don't want to go to the process of learning how to do business and open up a sole proprietorship business, and they're bootlegging doing it. That process, so they open up a system for them where they can have the same duplicate setup as the commercial side of it that has credit, and all that information is linked all together in that same system. And so, but you can pull yourself from out of it and separate the two, and that's part of what the public process teaches, is how to pull from out of that system, learn about commerce without them directly saying it, and separate the two. But the EIN number is what you should be using, on your job to apply for different things when it comes to, contracts and everything. But it doesn't work just by itself now. You have to have the whole setup and learn about starting a business, and because a lot of people, they're doing the elements of starting a business, but they're not functioning really knowing what they're doing. And they don't know how to apply it and what they're using it for, and the real purpose of, the consequences of doing it.
Well, I ran into that a long time ago, and that's why we offer businesses and stuff periodically on our website, but we select these opportunities and then we promote them. Legal Shield is one of them. And we just got a new one, and I'm gonna send you a copy of the video so you can take a look at this thing, because we just got this. It's brand new, even though I've been knowing about the technology a long time ago. But I'll send it to you after the night's broadcast, and you can take a look at that. Tell me what you think, and it's built on an awesome networking situation. I got the whole thing on DVD. Matter of fact, I'll send both the product as well as the networking side of it and the money side of it to you this evening, so you can take a look. But we already gone. It's on the site. I have others, but after we deal with them for a while, and then we'll take them off and we'll put new stuff up. So, but this time we got some pretty good solid stuff going, and we'll leave that there. And we'll be adding other opportunities onto the website. But sister, we're coming down to the close of the broadcast. I thank you so much. You have any last important information that you want to give the listening audience before we close?
No, that's just about it. Just wanted to reemphasize on how important it is to go to Tarhaka's website and sign up to have your family protected and see all the different benefits that they have, and being proactive instead of reactive, because we need to prevent more and more people from going into the system, and we need to prevent more and more people from we need to equip more and more people with having access to competent instructions and competent advice, when we need it, because sometimes you can't get in contact with people when you want to or when you need to. People are busy, but they're always available. And so that's one thing. Another thing is continue doing what you're doing, studying, learning more and more. And, stay in tune, checking on our website at victimsofmalicious.prosecution.com, because we're trying to put up all kinds of information and resources, that are available, and trying to do more and more to reach out to the community everywhere. Support the efforts for the television show that we have that is coming out soon as well. And, call into Tarhaka if there's any more things that you want to explore or talk about, because I've noticed I started off saying, okay, yeah, we're going into private remedies for private processes for public remedies, but I had got to a point where I had to learn, because of my own personal walk, that I had to learn how to utilize some public remedies and apply my private processes to them to make it work for me. And I had to get rid of the language barrier that exists, because, I don't have time for continuing education on this, that, and the third. I have a busy schedule, busy life, and I need to do something one time and keep it moving. And so, correspond with Tarhaka to bring to you, more information that always going to, help you knock off the things that are on your checklist and move to the next thing that is on there instead of keeping everything on there and having to maintain and deal with it. So I'm glad for everyone that was able to tune in. And again, if you would like the address service, you can go to Tarhaka's website as well too. No matter what state you're in, you'll receive your mail electronically, and we'll also forward it to you as well. So with that being said, you can always reach out to us if you have any other questions through the Contact Us form on our website for VOMP as well too.
Okay. Well, certainly, Sister, I certainly appreciate you being in here tonight. And you did a wonderful job. It's very, very informative, and I thank you so much. And we would definitely be having you back again. And I'm looking forward to getting on the TV with you. And this time I'll be answering the question.
Yes,
anyway.
I'm going to grill you too. And I'm sorry I wasn't able to go more and more deeper into the question that you was asking about the General Post and the address service. It's just that it's one of those gray lines because people have different reasons why they're using it for and what they're doing. And with that, I just saw a need that I saw how people were negatively being affected by utilizing the way they were accessing the General Post. So I just made a legal and lawful way for them to access it without the negative consequences and experiences that they were experiencing. Okay. And, I know that they're international. I know that they were set up before the Declaration of Independence and its government and everything. But like I said, I can't say that it can be used for one way or the other, not knowing the process of what they're using it for and and other things that are working in conjunction with that. But nevertheless to say is that I'm just, how they say you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I'm just leading the horse to the water. Now, to drink it and to tell you about all of the nutrients that it's going to provide for your dehydrated body, I can't do that. I'm just giving you access to what it is that you need without having the difficulties that came with the old process and having to send in paperwork and enforce stuff. This is like non-enforcement. I have a lot of remedies that you do not have to enforce because the documents is right there. We just were saying the wrong words of what we need to access it, to get it, to acquire it. It's like Rumpelstiltskin. This is the magic word, and I'm just giving you access. So whatever you use it for, that's your business.
Okay. Well, Sister, I thank you for being on here. We're going to close down the broadcast, and we'll be getting in touch with you later. I thank you so much.
Shalom.
Shalom, Sister. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've been your host, Tarhaka Amana L.B., and until next time, keep in the morrow.
You've been listening to Moorish Talk Live 100 with Tarhaka Amana L.B. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. Peace.